Today on the workbench, I've got a new project here. This was a kind of a request. Somebody wanted to see one of these done. This is a Bachmann Spectrum EMD F40PH. Of course, it's in the Amtrak scheme, and this is it says phase 3 on it, but this is a new old stock model. The box, when I got this in, it still has the plastic on it, so I just now opened this up and took it out of the box. So I'm not sure what I'm going to put in this yet as for a decoder. We'll just have to wait till I get it apart and see what we can do. It looks like I have a screw here. I'll pull this fuel tank off. All the details are off. Let's see. So we might as well get into this and get started. And it helps if I get a Phillips screwdriver. Let's pull that out. I'll probably have to pull that fuel tank off. Okay, there's our second one. You can see that right there. Okay, so just pulls up. All right. So there's our lighting board. We're going to get rid of that whole thing. I probably should have checked this to see how well it runs. I think I'll do that, because if it doesn't run worth a nickel, then I'm not going to put a decoder in it. But anyway, I'll be back here in a minute. Alright, I went over and put this on my DCC or DC test track, and it does run fairly well. Now we just need to figure out what we're going to do for a decoder. I thought about keeping this simple and just maybe using a simple Digitrax decoder in it. But I don't know. The more I look at it and think about it, I've got a Decoder Buddy Mini that I might be able to mill the frame out and set this down in this opening a little ways. And then put a nice sound decoder in it. If I could keep all of this back here, the Decoder Buddy Mini, put the decoder back here, I could set the speaker up here, or vice versa. Do it either way. I don't know. I guess really the only way to tell if that's viable is to just take it apart and see what happens. I mean, if I can't get, because I'm going to have plenty of room up in here too. I've got all this stuff to take off, so I can take this board out. Let me go ahead and do that now, because I'm not going to reuse any of this. And this does have, really surprised me, it does have flashing lights. The top beacons on it flash. So, let's see. I don't know if I can... Oh, yeah. They pull. Well, I got one out. Now I can't get the other one out. Let me see here. There we go. Alright, so it did have two flashing lights in it. But anyway, like I say, we're not going to reuse that. So I think that's going to give me plenty of room up in the shell. Piece of plastic there. I guess flash. But anyway, we'll be able to reuse. Oh, they just had the bulbs stuck up through there. Alright, well, probably have to come up with some kind of a bulb. Got a light pipe there for the front light. Got a headlight. Well, 3 headlights, I guess. And the number board's lit up. And then we've got our rear lights. I mean, the headlights are nothing. That's simple. Let's go ahead and we'll pull the front and rear trucks off of this. Get my fuel tank out here to put my screws in. Those lift right off. Front and rear trucks. And the way these pick up is they go right to the frame. You can see those little, I think they're copper. They've got them kind of blackish right now, but this frame is separated in the center. It's got little spacers in there, and there's only, well, if you count the motor, there's 4. But there's 3 screws that keep this thing separated. And they have spacers to isolate it from each side. So we've got our trucks. We'll go ahead and pull the body apart here, or the frame. There's that one. There's that one. There's that. So now, all we got to do is figure out what we're going to do. So pull those out, and we'll pull out our little spacers here if I can. That way I won't lose them. one for the center. And then there's that one. Okay, and then we've also got this little plastic piece at the bottom of the motor. So I think, let me see if I can pull the motor out. Yep, this, we'll have to pull this off, pull that off, because it picks up its power from each side there. So that's just a spacer. If you can see these little metal tabs, let me zoom in on this. So the tabs here, we'll get rid of those tabs. There's one on each side of the motor, and they make contact with the frame inside, and so that's where it gets its electric from. So you have to isolate these. And I guess there's a couple ways you could do that. You could just fold these in, put some Kapton tape in there to keep it away from the side of the motor or the frame. The other thing you could do, and it's what I'll do, I'll cut this off about right here where that's bent, and then I'll solder a piece of wire to that. And that way we'll have our motor contact. But okay, so let's pull that out. I'm also going to mark that flywheel. So this is the front and this is the bottom. Of course it's got that V you can see there, but I'm just going to mark it just because. Now I'm just going to kind of put this back together temporarily. Okay, because I need to see what I can cut off. I'd really like to have that Decoder Buddy sitting down in the bottom of that channel. You know, and I don't see why I can't. I think I could get that set right down in there. Sand this off, or mill this off in between these two slots. Let's see. I want to stay back just a little bit. Yeah, I think I can come from this edge. Yeah. Let me get up something to scribe me a line with here. I think I can come from that edge right there. That Decoder Buddy will sit down right tight against that. This sets right here like this. Well, if I can get my hands on it. So, yeah, I think if I come halfway into here, that will let me mill this out for the Decoder Buddy. That will sit there. And I'll have to do both sides. But I think I think that'll work. Pull that out and that out. I do believe. I don't know if these little figures will make it. I hope they do, but. And this is mine, so. And it's basically for demonstration purposes. Alright. So I think I'm going to temporarily put this thing back together. Put it back together, and then I can just basically cut this slot. I'm going to take this whole slot out all the way across here and all the way back to here. And that'll let me get my Decoder Buddy in. So after I get that, then I'll figure out what I want to do with the speaker. I think I'm just going to use a small sugar cube speaker for this. And then I can set it right here in this frame. Let's see. I've actually got... Yeah, that won't fit. I've got this set of speakers made up right here. I might be able to put 2 sugar cubes right there in the back. Okay. So I'm going to put this back together, go mill this out, and then I'll be back. Okay, I've come back and I've got both sides milled out. Now, I didn't, when I went down and was looking at this before I milled it, this right here, this slot is for a screw for the body, so I had to keep it instead of just cutting all that out and making it really simple. But look at these, look at how poor these castings are. That's just full of air bubbles in there. And then right there, big one right in there. But I got that milled. And I got the other side milled, and you can see right there's a big air bubble that was in that casting. All that. So, I mean, you would never know that unless you're tearing these things apart. But anyway, this is what it's going to look like. So we can take our Decoder Buddy, and our Decoder Buddy will sit right in there. And I've got a terrible, terrible glare. So, that Decoder Buddy Mini fits perfectly right in there, right in that little slot. Now, it is offset to the engineer's side a little bit, but I mean, that's fine because we got to keep this slot, like I said. So, and luckily the one back here on the engineer's side is in the back. But I did that with a belt sander, a 1-inch belt sander, a 3/8 inch belt sander, and a Dremel. So we've got our frame cut. I'm going to go in here where the motor goes, where I'm going to put my Kapton tape. And I want to clean the grease out of it. Just go ahead and clean all of that. But that way we've still got our slot there for our trucks. So I forget who that was that requested this, but hey, this was a good little project here. This is a basic DC model. We're going to get it to where it is DCC and runs off of a TCS WOWDiesel decoder. The decoder is probably worth more than the locomotive is, but we're not looking at it that way. We're looking at this as a challenge, and I like to take those challenges. But anyway, enough said. All right, so we've got our 2 halves. Get out my Kapton tape. We'll cut a few pieces of tape here. I'm just wondering. That'll work. I'll cut off the excess here in a minute. Get that to stick down. Now that probably took me, I don't know, a good half hour or better to mill that out. Put that up there. So we've got that with our Kapton tape. We'll get 2 more pieces on this side over here. Right up snug. Make sure we're covering all of our surfaces. Need 1 more piece. So now we've got our tape in. Get the extra tape off my fingers. So now I want to take the motor here, and let me get that out of the way. So I'm going to, let's see, first I want to test which way, well, I'm going to cut this off Actually, let me I'm going to put a little dab of solder on that before I cut that off. And I'll turn that around. We'll have them both on the same side. But I want to flux and tin that. And I'll do that before like I say, before I cut that off. That way that heat won't be so bad on that plastic. Break out the solder. Clean that tip off a little bit. So there's that one. And there's that one. Now I'll cut those off. And I'll solder a piece of wire to each one. So those should be orange and gray. So we'll get out a piece of each. Make it a little bit long. A little bit long. Okay. Bring my flux back over. And we'll be ready to tin that up. And I'm going to put this one on the top of the motor. There's that one. Okay, there are the motor wires. There it went. Okay, we are isolated. That'll go up. That'll go up. Now I think ready to put the frame back together. So let's see. Yeah, these things are a pain to get back in. Sometimes I can just slide them right in, other times because there's no good way to hold the crazy thing. There, maybe I can do it that way. Line it up with a pencil. So we'll set that in there. There, my coupler just fell off. Well, the first one went really easy. Come on. Nope. Went. All right. So let's try again. There's that. There's that. Turn this around. And we'll put our little spacer that goes on that, holds it together. That way we don't end up pushing that out. There's that. And then we can put our last one in the middle. And our last little spacer. There, now we can't fall out. Let's see, I've got this little spacer that goes in the bottom. And I knocked that one off. So I got that one started back there. I do believe that we are not there. We were close because this spacer fell out. There's that. There. So I've got this side in the center. There's the center one. Okay, now we're all in. Now we're good to go. All right. Turn that up that way. Way I can hold my washer steady. Get this one in. There's that one. Now I just got to get this last one in. There it is. So okay, there's our frame back together. Now I gotta worry about pickups. But anyway, we're that close. Our Decoder Buddy fits in there very nicely. Not pinching the wires anywhere. So there's our Decoder Buddy sitting in there. And even with the long pins, it's still underneath the level of these gentlemen's heads. So that's going to work out really nice. So now, what we need to do is figure out how we're going to put our pickups on this. think there's a little... I've done these before where I've just soldered the wire to this, and I do not like that. I guess, you know, you could, if you really wanted to, you could put in just a couple of screws and pick up off of your frame like it always has. That way you wouldn't have any wires running to anything, because you've got your pickups right here. You can see that. You've got them on both sides, and they're separated. So you could actually just attach your wires right to your frame if you wanted to. And that, of course, that's usually the way I do the old blue boxes, and I've done some protos like that, just with one side. Of course, then you're at the mercy of, you know, your frame. But anyway, let's get back to this. I think, let me pull my magnifier down here. Yeah. There is a screw in that on both sides. I don't know what it would take to solder a wire to that. And let me pull that out for a minute. Oh, I forgot to put in the pieces that attach the... Forgot to put those in. Oh well. We'll get it. So for right now, all right, time for a break. Okay, now we're going to figure out how we're going to get our power up to our decoder. First, I'm going to pull this truck apart. That way we can get a better look at what we've got. I'm going to pull this off. So I'm not sure if this is copper or what it is. If that screw is a little longer, I'd take like a brass washer and put behind it. But it's not, so I won't. Let's see. All right, well, we've got that apart anyway. So I'll figure out something here and then I'll come back. Okay, so I figured out what we're going to do. So this is like a brass or a copper piece, and I've taken a Dremel And I don't know if you really can't see that, but I've cleaned that up, got it back down to where it's shiny, and we'll solder our pickups onto that. But what we're going to do is we're going to take them all off. That way we won't have to worry about melting the plastic. So I'll go ahead and put some flux on there and clean that tip. This one, that's why I wanted to take it off of the plastic, because I knew it was going to be kind of tough to solder to. So there's that. Now I'll just have to clean that up. Get my cotton swab here. And I've even taken and touched the back of those contacts there, so you can see that where I've, see if I can zoom in on that some. There you go. Zoom back out. So there's my solder on that, and this part of this pickup, I'm going to cut this off because we don't need it. Actually, I'll just cut it down here because I don't need all of that. So we've cut it off to look like that. And that's cooled down. Well, actually, first thing I need to do is, okay, so I know this is my fireman's side. So that is going to be a black wire. And I am out of black wire. Alright, well, I have plenty of green wire. So this isn't going to follow our normal NMRA code, but I've got green wire. I do have red wire, so I'll be able to use red wire on the other side. But I'm going to use green on the engineer or conductor side. So we'll get that. Get that. Okay. One down, 3 to go. So now I can put this back on here. Let me make sure my wheels are in there. Clean this glob of grease out. That stuff. hard as, well, it's not hard as a rock, but we'll get that out of there. And that'll go right back. Well, dummy, pull the wheel out. Okay, there we've got that back on. So now I just need to do the other side. I'll leave that wheel off. We'll pull this out. Move that back. Here's this. I'm going to leave all this extra right here to hold on to before I cut it. So there's that. Now I just use a Dremel with a wire wheel. That cleans that up. Clean those ends up a little bit there. And then set that off to the side. Some flux. A lot of heat. Okay, trying to keep that up away from that hole. We'll bring in our alcohol, clean that off. And I can cut those off, send it off flying. Now I need, and I know this wire doesn't look red, but they call it red. It's more orange than anything. Cut two pieces while I got it. Right. There's that. put that one back together. Get this screw lined up here better. Okay, there's that. So we've got that in. We can put our frame back on. And there we go. So we'll go ahead and we'll do the rear one. Get it out here. Pull the drive shaft off. Go ahead and move that out. The other one had all the grease in it. There's not much grease in this one. I'll go ahead and pull one set of those out. Grab my pliers. Well, that just went flying into the Never Never. I'll be back. Well, it went off into the Never Never. I'll never find that. But I do have some extra parts. This is a different style, but it'll work just the same. So this is my, for the engineer side. So we'll go ahead and tin it up. Okay, there's that. And this one's been a little differently. Actually, I'm going to leave that alone. And I'll solder right to that. Yep. After I chase it all over the place, there we go. A little on the warm side. So lesson learned. Hold on better. I heard the thing hit. but I have no idea where it went. Luckily, I had this, and it will work. There's that. Here's this. I do have one more in case this one goes astray. But I'll find that someday and wonder what in the world it's from. But I'll hold on tighter this time. Okay, so there's that. We'll go ahead. Well, if I can get some flux. Flux that on the wrong side. There. That's what I wanted. That off. Flux up. I put that on the, I did the wrong color on that. Yeah. Well, I can switch them around. So now, I'll go ahead and cut. Cut that. Go back and move this to the other side. There's that one. Make sure you have magnetic screwdrivers. Okay. That's touching. That's all good. Push these back. that's that. And then we'll go ahead and put our frame back on. All right. So now we are good to go with electrical pickup. Of course, you can test that if you want to. You can put a meter on it, but I'm not going to. So there's an extra part. So now the thing I've got to do is put these back on. Actually, I'll put my drive shafts back in. Now I gotta loosen the frame up here a little bit. So that I can get those back in. Hopefully I can do that without having to remove the screws, because they're a pain to get back in. But I don't think I'm going to have any luck. No, not even going to play here. I'll just pull it out. Put that back in. As much as I hate to. Maybe I can leave that one for right now. So I got that one. Now so I got that one in. Let's pull this one out. As much as I hate to. But so far so good. Okay. Well, that was painless. So now we're all isolated, motors isolated. Now I just need to get my wires up through. Get that down there. Push that one through there. Okay. That went in. Just making sure my wires were fine. Oop, that's a wrong screw. That's good. That's good. Got our full movement. Drive shaft is working fine. Alright, now we just got to get our rear truck in place. Fish these wires up through. Now the bad thing about that right there is I am right over top of my drive shaft, or right at my drive shaft. I'll put this screw in and try something. I think it's all right. Yeah, that will work just fine. Everything is out of the way. Okay. Yep. So we've got our pickups on. Got our motor wires on. And let me get my, got a 9-volt battery here someplace that I can test to see which way the motor turns all of this. And I know I won't need that big a piece of gray wire. Let me just go ahead and Strip this off and see what's happening. So, orange is supposed to be positive. If this is hooked up right, it'll move that direction. Okay. Always have a 50-50 shot at that. So now we are ready to mount our Decoder Buddy. And we'll tighten that front truck up just a little bit.